Let's talk about the Kyle Rittenhouse case. And I have to be honest, this is something that I've been on the fence about. I didn't know if I should do a video about it or not. But I thought, well, let's do a video about it because at the heart of this trial, heart of this case, is this idea of self-defense and that you are secure in your persons, your papers, your property. Those are fundamental rights that we are granted under our Constitution, our Bill of Rights. That is unique to the United States. That is part of our culture, and we need to preserve that. If you're new to the channel, welcome to this thing we call the Cultural Confederacy. If you've been with me for a while, welcome back. Now, if you're new to the channel, here's what we do here. And I like saying this on every video because I never know who's clicking on the video for the first time. We talk about preserving our history and culture as Americans, bring to light music by lesser-known composers, celebrate great art, great music. I believe in preserving that 150% because if you take away anything you find offensive, you're not going to have anything left to talk about or write about. And once you start taking down statues, going after Confederate flags, or monuments you disagree with, people are next. We saw that happen during the French Revolution. We saw that happen under Stalin, under Hitler. Let's do our best to make sure it doesn't happen here. And I've got to say this, because I know there's this disagreement out there of whether or not, and this is one of the charges, I believe, whether or not Kyle Rittenhouse, and we're going to be going over these 7 charges or counts against Kyle Rittenhouse. But one of the charges is that he was in possession, unlawful possession of a weapon as a minor. But I will trust Kyle Rittenhouse with an AR-15 any day over the idiots working at the Kenosha Police Department who didn't have sense enough to stop these protesters, these looters, these rioters in August of 2020. Hey, you guys wouldn't step in and do your job, so the citizens had to step in and do your job for you. And Kyle Rittenhouse was protecting property. They were burning down these car lots, these buildings in Kenosha, over this Jacob Blake character who had a rap sheet a mile long. So I will trust Kyle Rittenhouse with an AR-15 any day over the idiots working at the Kenosha Police Department. I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for saying that, but I really don't care. Step up to the plate and do your job and protect your community, Kenosha Police Department. That's what these citizens pay you to do who live in that city. So I'm going to give you a rundown of the case here. And this prosecutor. Folks, you want to talk about a courtroom circus. This prosecutor had the audacity during trial to question Kyle Rittenhouse's silence, question his Fifth Amendment right. And props to the judge who berated this prosecutor like no tomorrow. He said, how dare you bring that up in my courtroom? This has been law in this country for 40 to 50 years. It's been established by the Supreme Court. But yes, people have a right to plead the Fifth. Then he kept saying, well, the defense team has opened the door, the court opened the door. He's trying to introduce evidence without the court's permission. Big no-no. Big no-no as a prosecutor. Neither this prosecutor, this Thomas Binger guy, is the smartest prosecutor on the planet, or he is the dumbest prosecutor on the planet. This is his type of personality. He doesn't yell. He doesn't scream. He's very calm and matter-of-fact. He talks like this. And he was saying this to the judge. Well, Judge, with all due respect here, the court did open this up, and you yourself. And the judge said, don't get brazen with me. And I love this judge. Props to this judge. I think his name is Bruce Schroeder. Now, there are some questions about some of the cases that he's handled in the past. People claiming that he was pro-defense. But I'll tell you one thing. Let's not mince words here, okay? And I'm just going to come out and say it because somebody needs to say it. I can guarantee you that if Kyle Rittenhouse were a minority and the judge was doing the same exact thing, they would be praising this judge. And don't tell me any different. Don't tell me any different. You see, we can't be looking at this case in terms of race. We have to look at this case in terms of the fact that this is somebody who was on trial for murder. Supposedly murder. But he is claiming self-defense. He shot 3 people. And the original narrative was 3 people that he shot. Pardon me, mouth's getting a little dry here. Better take a sip of my coffee. But the 3 people that he shot were minorities. Turns out they were all white. And you know it's bad for the prosecution. Pardon me, you know it's bad for the prosecution when on the stand, Gage Grosskreutz. Now, if you took a look at this guy, he looks like your typical ultra-leftist. He's got stringy hair. He's got a smug attitude. You can tell he's got a smug attitude. He's for the revolution. Well, he admitted on the stand to the defense in cross-examination that yes, in fact, he did have a gun pointed at Kyle Rittenhouse while Kyle Rittenhouse was on the ground. So you have 2 people who don't know each other, who have guns pointed at each other. It's a matter of who's going to fire first. And this is the other thing that really got me about the prosecutor. He's claiming, or he's been claiming in the trial here, that I think it was what's his name? Aaron, let me go through my notes here. Aaron Huber. I wrote this all down, folks, so just bear with me here. Joseph Rosenbaum, Anthony Huber. So the 3 people that were shot were Joseph Rosenbaum, 36, Anthony Huber, 26, who hit Rittenhouse in the back of the head with a skateboard. But they're saying that Anthony Huber was unarmed. Well, Anthony Huber was trying to stop Kyle Rittenhouse in the head, if I'm not mistaken. This prosecutor doesn't have the common sense, or he doesn't know that if you use your fist or your foot and you try to attack somebody that way, that is considered a weapon. Where did he get his law degree? Like I said, either this guy is the smartest prosecutor on the planet or the dumbest prosecutor on the planet. But one thing you do not do as a prosecutor or a defense attorney is question somebody's silence, their Fifth Amendment right, during the trial. So I'm going to go through these 7 charges with you here from the AP. And this is an article that came out November 12th. It's by Todd Richman. So the title of this article here, what charges does Kyle Rittenhouse face? So I'm just going to read you the first paragraph, then I'll go through these charges here. Kyle Rittenhouse shot 3 men, killing 2 of them and wounding the 3rd during a protest against police brutality in Kenosha, Wisconsin last year. Rittenhouse has argued that he fired in self-defense after the men attacked him. And when you watch the video, there's no question denying that. This guy was being attacked from all sides. And he was actually trying to run towards the police line. And this is the thing that really gets me. He went to the police. He said, look, I just shot somebody. You know what their response was? Get back or you're going to get pepper sprayed. Good going, Kenosha Police Department. This guy just comes to you and tells you he's admitting he shot somebody, and your response is, get back or we're going to pepper spray you. Let's give him a round of applause for that. Man, it just gets better. It's like we're living in Alice in Wonderland, folks. Here's a look at the charges that prosecutors carried into court, as well as lesser charges that the judge could put before the jury in final instructions, and closing arguments will be on Monday. Rittenhouse affirmed in court that he agreed with his attorneys where they did not oppose adding charges. I think what it's going to come down to is that he was illegally in possession of a weapon as a minor. But you can clearly see from this video that he was protecting himself. Self-defense. And it doesn't look good for the prosecution when you have this guy, Gage Grosskreutz, who admits to the defense that yes, in fact, I was in possession of a gun and I did have it pointed at Kyle Rittenhouse while he was on the ground. Right then and there, the judge should have stopped the case and said, or stopped the trial and said, you know what? It's done. My decision is made. This guy is not guilty. You can all go. You're free to go, Kyle Rittenhouse. You're free to go. So here are the charges. Count 1. First-degree reckless homicide, use of a dangerous weapon. This felony charge is connected to the death of Joseph Rosenbaum, the first man Rittenhouse shot. Bystander video shows Rosenbaum chasing Rittenhouse through a parking lot and throwing a plastic bag at him. Now, it was believed at first it might have been a metal chain or something. Rittenhouse flees behind a car and Rosenbaum follows. Video introduced at trial shows Rittenhouse wheeling around and firing as Rosenbaum chased him. Richard McGinnis, a reporter who was trailing Rittenhouse, testified that Rosenbaum lunged for Rittenhouse's gun. And Kyle said this on the stand. He said, if I had not shot him, he would have been reaching for my gun. He would have most likely shot me and possibly had gone and shot other people, been a danger to everybody else. Now, this is something that really got me. The prosecutor asked this question over and over again. Now, I understand a prosecutor's job is to kind of get you, kind of corner you, contradict yourself on the stand, or find a way in which you contradicted yourself from your own statements. That's what a prosecutor is supposed to do, because they can find in that if there's a door that can be opened, that they can probe. But he asked Kyle Rittenhouse over and over again, so you're saying that you had your gun with you, but you didn't feel that you were threatened. Why did you have your gun with you? Well, isn't it obvious? What he was basically trying to get at is if he didn't feel threatened, he wouldn't need a gun. Well, the purpose of having a gun isn't whether or not you feel threatened. It's the fact that the purpose of having a gun is having a gun so you really don't have to use it. In other words, it's a deterrent. That's why you own a weapon. That's why you own a gun. Or possibly a knife or something. But if you own a gun, it's a deterrent. Your hope is not to have to use it. You have it for protection in the event that you have to use it. And only then do you shoot when necessary. So let's go to the second charge here before I run out of time on the video. So second count, first degree reckless endangering safety, use of a dangerous weapon. This felony charge is connected to the Rosenbaum shooting. McGinnis told investigators he was in the line of fire when Rittenhouse shot Rosenbaum. The charge is punishable by 12 and a half years in prison. The weapons modifier carries an additional 5 years. Count 3, first degree reckless endangering safety, use of a dangerous weapon. Video shows an unknown man leaping at Rittenhouse and trying to kick him seconds before Anthony Huber moves his skateboard towards him. Rittenhouse appears to fire 2 rounds at the man, but apparently misses as the man runs away. This charge is a felony punishable by 12 and a half years in prison. The weapon modifier again would add up to 5 more years. Count number 4, first degree intentional homicide, use of a dangerous weapon. This charge is connected to Huber's death. Video shows Rittenhouse running down the street after shooting Rosenbaum. When he falls to the street, Huber leaps at him and swings a skateboard at his head. A skateboard can be a weapon. At his head and his neck, and tries to grab Rittenhouse's gun before Rittenhouse fires. The criminal complaint alleges Rittenhouse aimed the weapon at Huber. Intentional homicide. Intentional homicide. Get the words out here. Intentional homicide means just that. A person killed someone and meant to do it. Butcher said that if Rittenhouse pointed the gun at Huber and pulled the trigger, that would amount to intentional homicide. However, self-defense would trump the charge. Now, if we go to count number 5, attempted first degree. Let me take a drink, a sip of my coffee here. Attempted first-degree intentional homicide, use of a dangerous weapon. This is the charge for Rittenhouse shooting Gage Grosskreutz in the arm seconds after he shot Huber. And as Grosskreutz came forward towards him holding a pistol, Grosskreutz survived. Video shows Rittenhouse pointing his gun at Grosskreutz and firing a single round. The charge carries a maximum sentence of 60 years. The weapons modifier would add up to 5 more years. Count number 6, possession of a dangerous weapon by a person under 18. This is where I think they can charge Rittenhouse for this possession of a dangerous weapon under the age of 16. Under the age of 18. Get my ages confused here. When you can own a gun, when you can't. But to be in possession of a dangerous weapon under the age of 18. Rittenhouse was armed with an AR-style semi-automatic rifle. He was 17 years old on the night of the shootings. Wisconsin law prohibits minors from possessing firearms except for hunting. It was not clear on Friday what Schroeder intends to tell jurors about that charge. The charge is a misdemeanor punishable by up to 9 months behind bars. Count number 7, final count. Failure to comply with an emergency order from state or local government. I love this one. Because everybody was violating the curfew. So this has to deal with the curfew that they had in place in Kenosha. Rittenhouse was charged with being out on the streets after an 8 p.m. curfew imposed by the city, a minor offense that carries a fine of up to $200. Judge Bruce Schroeder dismissed the charge during the second week of trial, rightfully so, after the defense argued that prosecutors hadn't offered enough evidence to prove it. So those are the 7 charges. I thought I'd share that with you tonight. This comes to us by the way of the AP. There's definitely some other articles. Let me go through my notes here and just share this with you if you want to go investigate this. Talked about what those charges are. So Judge Bruce Schroeder is the one presiding over the case, tangled with the prosecution, with Prosecutor Thomas Binger. Now, Binger tried to connect, as I mentioned earlier, tried to connect this incident 4 months after this incident in Kenosha on August 25th, where Kyle Rittenhouse was seen in a bar wearing a shirt that said "Free as F." He's posing with the Proud Boys. Now, according to the Washington Post, judge says the jury can consider provocation, lesser charges. And I covered these charges here for you from AP. And Kenosha police are preparing for possible riots when this verdict is read, if it doesn't go the way that the protesters want. And I got to say something about that. First of all, BLM, Antifa, the mob, the SJW mob, you do not decide the verdict in a court case. That is what that's what the jury is there to do. You see, that's why we have a court system set up. Or do you want to go after that next because you think that it's unfair, that it's biased, that it's racist? Lady Justice is supposed to be blind. Now, it doesn't mean that it's always going to go the way you want. But justice is usually served. Unless there's jury tampering or something like that. Doesn't necessarily mean the verdict is going to be fair. But the verdict is supposed to be just, based on the law. That's why we have a system of laws. So everybody's rights are protected. Someone's going to win in a case, somebody's going to lose in a case. Let me know in the comment section below. Do you think that Kyle Rittenhouse is guilty? Do you think he's not guilty? Do you think they should just acquit this guy? I mean, what do you think should happen in this case? Let me know in the comment section below. You can click that like button, subscribe, hit me up on Instagram at hashtag Jason Composes. And you can reach me Twitter, Culture Confederacy Twitter. This is the Culture Confederacy saying peace out. Stay safe, everybody. God bless this great country. I'll catch you next time. Thanks for letting me stumble through this. I enjoy doing these videos for you, and I thought it was important to talk about this tonight because it is one of our fundamental rights in this country, something that needs to preserve the right to property, to be secure in your persons, the place that you live, your papers. That is all guaranteed under the Constitution, and let's do our best to preserve it like we preserve our history and culture as Americans, and we preserve great art, great music, bring to light music by lesser-known composers, all that fun jazz. This is the Culture Confederacy saying peace out. I'll catch you next time.